you feeling today?
Cold?
Cold. That's a good answer, by the way. Like, at least back home, it was like a bit more warm. And we are excited like to have every single one of you here. One of the things that we have, every single one of you have in common is that you have to do with people. You have teams that you're interacting on a daily basis. So with one word, I would love like to hear from every single one of you, or like one sentence. How do you feel about it? How do you feel now about it? And how did you used to feel when you first started interacting with people and with teams?
I try to lead by example, let's say. And you never manage more than 5 people, 7, 10 people.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to make sure that these people have your values so they can push them down to consecutive layers, let's say, of other people. So it feels the same because you always have the 7 people. Either they're the first 7 people or like you're 200 or 300, still like, if that layer is going well, then the other layers will go well as well.
Great. Raheem?
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Michalis. One word for people, I think, is culture. But I think what's diving a little bit deeper is perspective and empathy, leading by modeling the way, looking at people's perspective while keeping in mind the objective and the goal of the organization. Getting all these together, I think it's what defines culture, and having the culture right, I think it's what defines success. So I think people is the cornerstone of everything we do.
Good. Ilya?
First of all, thanks a lot for the invitation. I think it's something that we're missing in Greece, this kind of setup. I've been in Cyprus in similar events, and it's really, really, really nice. So I hope this will be established here as well. Now, when it comes to your question, I think that for me, it's all about, if you want to hear some words, it's about empowerment and accountability, basically. So it's about really trusting the people, providing them, all the resources that they need to have in order to perform their job, and then let them do their stuff and make sure, that they're feeling the ownership and the accountability of what's going to happen, what's the outcome, basically.
Stavro, thank you, Ilya.
Thank you. Actually, I'm going to pick back up on what you just said, because it's when you first start managing people, you make all the decisions. And then as the team grows, at XM we have over 1,500 people globally. You have to deal with a lot of HR. I was just talking with the co-CEO just a minute ago that 50% of our work is HR. But you have to empower people because you cannot make the decisions. You have to trust the people, empower them, have a safe environment. We have an open door policy at XM, so any idea, anybody that sees something wrong or sees something that needs to be fixed, they have the power and the accountability, and it's a safe environment that it's okay if we try something and fail. We have to have that culture, because if people have the fear that if they try something, if they step up and they fail, they may lose their job, then that's not leadership, that's actually micromanaging.
Where is actually the line, though? Because the open door policy for someone to come and say, you know what, I did this mistake, and like I realize I made the mistake, and you trying like to learn from it or fix it. Is there a line that at some point some mistakes they are actually too big? Sorry, just to be more specific, it doesn't necessarily mean from financial perspective. Maybe it's from ethics perspective.
Well, that's why you need to have a lot of checkpoints with the team. It's you don't want to find out about something, because things don't become big all of a sudden. They just build up and build up and build up. And you need to have for me, I like to be very hands-on. So you need to catch things before they become very, very big. And if they become big, you do need to build the foundations in your organization to be able to navigate them. If you have a culture where you are agile, you are quick to respond to market conditions, in our industry, regulatory changes. You also, if you can adapt quickly, you can prevent these big disasters from happening.
I think regarding mistakes, we follow something interesting that I believe is something that we like very much, at least. So the idea is that if you see the company as a big engine that has small engines and processes running around, running every day, a mistake is fine because the company is moving fast. So if you do a mistake once, it's fine, but you need to learn from it and then not only fix it, that's like step one. The second step is like to set a process so this mistake doesn't happen again, either from you or from another person who is handling this process. So by doing that, by setting a process at the back of the mistake, you're basically eliminating that mistake from happening again, and that's fine. But if we're doing the same mistake again and again, that's a problem, right?
Okay. What about the type of processes you add in place in order to make sure that you are eliminating any possible mistakes growing? Because as you said, Stavri, you just said, one second, I took a note because I liked it, that it doesn't grow overnight. You said something along the line, things, they don't become big all of the sudden. So what kind of processes each one of you you have in place in order to keep these mistakes as small as possible? Rahim?
Yeah. So I think the granularity of the processes implemented and at what stage, it depends also on the goal of the company. So if the company is fast moving scale up, that its first aim is to actually double or triple its revenue in the next year or two, then it should come a priori with some cushion of accepting mistakes to a certain degree versus a company that's optimized, that's trying to increase its EBITDA and bottom line by 5-10%, then the room for mistakes becomes all of a sudden smaller. So I think it's directly correlated to the appetite of growth, market share, revenue versus optimization to how much mistakes you're allowed or you could potentially accept. It's not a matter of principle and the process, what you as a CEO of or what the company wants. It's a matter of execution. If you are at 50 million revenue, you want to go to 100 million revenue, you cannot really control every single value chain of the company, whether it's supply chain, value chain, recruitment, product development, quality assurance on releasing products with less bugs if it's a tech company. So it really depends what stage you're talking about. So having said that, taking somewhere in the middle benchmark where the companies have an appetite to grow 20 to 40% per year, which is depending on the scale, but on that, I think processes, the way we set it up and what seems to work, are focusing on 1, 2, or 3 quantitative and qualitative deliverables or some sort of KPIs. For instance, we strive as an e-commerce company to have 0 days delay on deliveries. That's not possible practically. Theoretically, yes, but that's our strive to do the best that we can. So every time something happens, we try to implement, as Andrew said, a process to fix that and add a process so that doesn't happen in the future, whether it's to pre-order more stock or have the systems more real time at the time from our supplier and so forth. So that's one perspective. On the other perspective, processes, sometimes we want the products to be delivered much, much faster, more agile in technology. In there, we might have processes that says we need an SLA of 999s on the first month, and then we go to 49s after that. So we are willing to accept more mistakes or more faults because we need faster delivery for that particular feature, product, MVP, whatever the case might be. So one is the scale, second is the product. But as a rule of thumb, and this is a very hard job to do, to identify what is the most important quantifiable, quality-wise and quantity-wise KPI that you can deliver to any process or product that you're trying to do. Then have the right leaders who follow that and deliver on that.
Ilya?
Yeah, everything you say, I totally agree with them. But it's also about trying to change the conversation because we started about the mistakes, right? I mean, okay, you will never avoid mistakes. The most important thing is to ensure that the culture that you have built is not preventing people, of taking risks, of doing things, of trying new things. So, I mean, for me, the focus is more about this, how to ensure that people, will feel comfortable, taking the risk, walk out of the comfort zone, trying new things, rather than, be afraid what will happen if I make the mistake. And of course, I agree with Alexandros that he mentioned before, the important thing is to learn from your mistakes and make sure that,
Sure.
this will also be, in Klarna, we have, it's very interesting, we have a lot of companies that are using Slack, right? We have a lot of channels, obviously every team has their own channel. We have a winning channel, but we have a losing channel as well.
Okay.
The losing channel is exactly this. Everyone is encouraged to go there, post. It's very difficult to do it because you expose yourself in front of 2,000, 3,000 people, right? And to make a post about your recent mistake, basically, your recent failure within the company. People are doing it. People are praising the ones that they're posting, and more people are posting. And the whole idea is about learning from the mistakes, right? And be, willing to share as well for other people to learn.
Adding on that, I would like to ask Stavri, like, in a conversation we had, you mentioned that one of the things that you are passionate about is like how to help people, the employees, to keep on motivated year after year. And it's a question like to ask every single one of you. My first question is like how you get yourself motivated, and if the reason why you started what you're currently doing an X amount of years ago, if it's the same thing that still drives you, and then how are you actually going about motivating and helping like your teams to keep on going?
Okay, so I'll start. So you have to love what you're doing. You have to feel passionate about what you're doing. And I mean, I love our industry. I love how fast-pacing it is. And as I said, as you move into a more senior role, you get the motivation not out of you delivering, but out of seeing the team that you have helped build deliver. And how do you get the teams to deliver? As we talked last week, and we gave the example when we have a lot of developers, as you all do, and we always when we talk to the product managers, we say make sure you explain to the developer why are we doing this? Why do they need to build the feature? Don't just open a Jira task and have them do what they're just do the task. Because and I'm sure we probably have a lot of Gen Zs in the room, you also need to understand that the wants and the needs of the different generations. I'm Gen X, millennials are different, Gen Zs are different. They need to have meaning in their work. Why am I doing this? How am I contributing to not just the growth of the company, but to society? So for us, and I'm kind of like, it's an aside, but CSR is also very important for us. And it's something that attracts people, but what motivates them is understanding what it is they're doing, what value that would bring to the company. Then they have a sense of pride that I helped create that. I was a driver in releasing this to the market.
Great, thank you, Stavri. Who wants to go next?
I can go next. I mean, when we are hiring or when we're overviewing people, it's like we are looking for three things. Like one thing is how passionate are you about the problem we're solving, right? Mm-hmm. So one is like how connected you are with our mission, with the thing that we're doing. You have an unhealthy relationship with the company, meaning that on your free time, at the back of your head, you keep thinking about how can we go faster, how can we solve this, how can we achieve our mission faster, right? The second thing is about the role. So you really need to be the best in your role, either today or tomorrow. So we are expecting you, since you selected to be a support specialist or a business developer or like a developer or whatnot, that for whatever reason you decide to do that, and now we expect you to be the best. And like we want people who have this eagerness to improve, and like they want to be the best, and they want to contribute to the mission through being the best in their role. And the third part is culture, right? It's like our team values. And a lot of things that drive people is ownership, for example, to have ownership of their output, to see the output connected to the overall mission, things like that. And we have very specific values that we use to motivate, to do performance reviews, to do all of that. And on a personal level, I think you do a company because you don't want to have a ceiling, right? So you want to keep on growing and growing, and you don't want to feel that there is a ceiling anywhere. So I think this is what motivates you, and you want to see your baby being across the world and being used by everybody, and everybody to change the lives of some people through what you have created.
Great, thank you. Elia, Merhim?
Yeah, without repeating too much, I think the first question, how do you motivate yourself? Passion is the most critical one. I'm the founder of the company, and if I need to motivate myself, I shouldn't be the founder or CEO of the company. And which brings me to the second point, how do you motivate others? In time, I've realized that you could be given the same attributes, empowerment and autonomy and empathy, and lead by model the way for the team, and same conditions, all else equal, he or she, one person may be motivated, more successful, and the other one may not. So in time, I'm understanding that motive, typically the best motive, comes from within. You have motives that comes from outside, external. Like everybody wants to be on the winning ship. Everybody wants to be on the company that's growing fast. Everybody wants to be part of the success story. That's external. But the strongest motive comes from the people who have the motive from within. And I think that makes a big difference. So the real question then is, how do you identify people who have the motive within? And two, you can kick off the motive. How do you keep it up? How do you keep up with the motive a year and 2 and 3 along the line? And what I have realized is usually the motive gets reset for better when you have success and for worse when you don't have success. So you need these winning moments to keep the motive going. But finding the people with the motive from within and having success with them to reset the motive going on, I think is the secret formula. Easier said than done, but this seems to be something that works well.
Elia?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's all these are really, really good advices, and I think especially when you're a founder or starting a company, it's really important, to have this kind of mindset. What I believe, and personally I think that this is what I look, also to people that I'm working with, is, and it's very connected to the title of the event, is to be a doer, basically. I mean, to have people that they're willing to really make their hands dirty, to really go into the detail. And being a thinker, it's a very good thing. Perhaps if the company is very big, you have to strategize. But now we're talking about a very fast-paced environment. It's about, what we're discussing before. It's about trying things all the time, failing fast, stand up on your feet as fast as possible. And most important is to do things yourself. Test the solution yourself. Get feedback from the customer yourself, not just, trying, to assign tasks to other people. And this is the way that I try, and actually this comes also from top bottom to the company, to lead, the different functions. And this is what I'm asking from my people, basically.
Thank you.
Let me just add, it's intellectual curiosity. If the person, they have to have intellectual curiosity if they are to succeed, especially in a tech company.
I think this is the third time today that someone said that if someone wants to be a great leader, great maybe a CEO, partner, whatever it might be, they need to have that curiosity. So going back, because it grabbed my attention, what you said earlier, Merhim, about how do you recognize the people who have that motive? So how do you? How can you?
It's a tough one. It's so tough that I find myself not so good at it. I joke around with my team members. I'm like, I should not be going to interviews because I'm successful 50%. I should just throw a coin. At least I save some time. I really don't know. It's tough. If you asked me 2-3 years ago, in Cyprus, Doers event, maybe I would have given you a different answer. But in time, I'm realizing it's very, 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 very difficult. You can have the whole day with somebody, or 2-3 days, interviews and case studies. You can use the best recruitment interviews mechanism known to man and woman in the world, and you still don't know. Because one, we as humans are very complex, and two, we change, we're not constant. What I may seem to you today motive may not be the case tomorrow. So I don't think, to me at least, there is no golden rule to motive. But what you can define as an attribute that you could potentially correlate to somebody having high motive, it's passion. If somebody is speaking about something very passionately and with desire, and he or she doesn't seem to talk about it because it's work, then you can tell that there might be something to it. It doesn't guarantee it, but it does have a positive correlation. Otherwise, I don't have a secret formula to identify one.
Okay, thank you. Alexandra, you want to add something?
Yeah, going back to the three things that we're looking at when we're hiring, like one is like how passionate you are about what we're doing, right? So there you want to see people who have done their homework, people who have passion about what you're building, about the industry, about travel, about mobility, about your company, about your solution. They have watched interviews, they have done their homework to come to the interview. If you don't see that, you know, there is no motive, let's say, for the company. And then for the role, it's not answering about your biggest thing. It's like, what are you reading? What are you know, how are you evolving? What are you learning now? You know, all the things that you can ask to see, you know, what's their curiosity to grow as a person in that role. So I would say these are two nice ways to judge, let's say.
I wanted to ask you, like when we had our meeting, you shared your nickname that you gained after surviving COVID. Do you want to share what that nickname is and tell us what advice you would give someone who is going through maybe a tough time and how they can get on the other side? Because I assume it's not only as a person, but it's also like with your baby, as you said earlier, like a company.
Yeah, first of all, some people call me a cockroach in Greece because I don't die, we haven't died through a series of events. One of the biggest events was COVID. Basically in COVID, in 3 weeks, our business stopped because we focused on international travel. So you can imagine COVID, international travel, they don't go together. So I believe when you're going through a crisis, it's very important to see, you know, to put yourself out of the crisis, to, you know, do not stress, to take as much, let's say, pressure out of it, and try to utilize this crisis so the moment the crisis ends, you are much stronger and you can grow much faster and you can become much, you know, better, let's say, after this happens. And there's like a common saying that, you know, if you're in, you know, a good state today, wait for it and it will go down. If you're in a bad state today, wait for it and it will go up, because like things go like this. They will never go like this or like this for a long time. So when you are going down, like, you should take advantage and you should work with people who have the motive, who want to push the company forward and like set it up for success for the day after.
Great, thank you. I wanted to ask, it happened that during your career, you had your team grow exponentially, like out of the blue, like you had to hire a massive number of people, or maybe you got into a situation that you had to lead a big number of people. So my question is, for some people, it might be as a startup to go from 1 person to 5 people. In some other cases, it might be from 5 to 20, from 20 to 200, and in some cases, like as Stavri shared earlier, like it's 1,500 people. So how do you scale? Yes, we said earlier we need to have processes, but how do you scale? And the question that actually it triggers my curiosity, because most of you mentioned earlier about the culture. how can you sustain or improve the culture? Who wants to go first?
Go first. Well,
Please.
I mean, culture, you don't improve it, you just develop it. There's no formula for that. Sometimes you may underhire, and sometimes you may overhire. If you overhire, you just need to, then it's the burden on the managers to train the people. And a lot of times you have to be careful not to let the needs of the company, the development needs to drive your hiring. You do need to reflect once in a while and say, okay, we have overhired. We have to make sure that we don't like laying off people. So you have to make sure that we have enough time for all of these people to grow and develop. And if it comes at the expense of some long-term projects, it's okay. And COVID was actually an example for us that within 3 days, we decided we're going to have people working from home. Because we had this agile environment, we're able to furnish everybody with laptops, everybody working from home. Wonderful, you're saying. Then we were able to develop products during COVID, but it also meant that, because we have a very strong culture, and we're actually recognized globally as a great place to work.
Congratulations for that.
Thank you. It meant that people were not coming to the office. Not coming to the office doesn't mean that they're not producing. They were able to produce amazing products and able to go into markets that we haven't been able to be in the past. But you lost that human interaction. Mm-hmm. So then it's okay. and so that's another thing that you. Okay, it's all right.
Guys, I think it's not the time for the drone, please.
Yeah.
It's too loud.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. And you that's another thing. When you grow too fast, you used to know a lot of the people, then you don't know a lot of the people, and it's something that you need to find ways to again engage people and reach out to them when you have a company of 1,500 people.
Great, thank you, Stavri. Someone else who wants to share their insight on that?
I can keep going. I mean, two things very fast. One, be very careful who goes through the door. Every new person joining has an interview with me or my co-founder.
Okay.
And a very long process with assignments and everything. Number two, performance reviews should be connected with your team values and your culture values as much as we are with the KPIs and whatever numbers.
Thank you for that, Alexandre.
I think the faster, if you are used to hiring 2-3 people per month and all of a sudden you hire 50, 100 people per month, we've had equivalent a couple of years back, you're going to make much more mistakes. So that mistakes that we spoke earlier, you have to be more accepting to those mistakes, mishires or misfires. Second, what helped us concretely, and to be specific to here, is we started doing some tests, quantitative tests, to have some sort of a benchmark depending on the position. So for programmers, that test showed us a lot on their capacity, on their knowledge at least. So we focused that test on the knowledge, but then we focused on the qualitative interviews on the culture fit, right? On the core values of the company fit, as opposed to testing their knowledge. So it allowed us more time, because you have to be more efficient. This was one of the great tactics that helped us a lot in recruiting 10x more.
Okay, thank you. Ilya?
Yeah, I don't think there is any golden recipe for hiring, basically. You have to be very, very careful. There will be times that you need to hire a lot of people. There will be unfortunate times that you might, need, to remove people from the organization. The whole idea is to, like Alexandros says, to be very, very accurate on how you're hiring. I don't think it helps a lot, the hiring processes that everybody has now that it's remote. It's much easier, to understand somebody, when he comes to the office and have an interview. Unfortunately, this is not always the case, and the world is changing, basically. But yes, this is one of the toughest problems that small companies, primarily small companies have, basically, or scale-up companies have. Yeah.
Guys, I would like to thank every single one of you. Unfortunately, we are running out of time. I wish we had like more time because we got a lot of great questions. Seriously, thank you for your insight. I know we had like more ideas on things that we would love to touch. Hopefully, like on the next one, hopefully, like the organizers, they will gladly do another one, and maybe like next year we'll be able like to continue our conversation. So I would like to thank every single one of you guys. Please give a big round of applause.